Hello everyone and welcome to this special news and notes video where I talk about the current events of professional wrestling and various things that have happened throughout the week. Before I get started, I want to thank everybody who joined in on yesterday's stream where we watched Clash of the Champions 22 and Saturday Night's Main Event 23. Very fun streams. Both shows were really good and I'm still having a lot of fun doing these. It's getting, we're getting close to the end. We're over 2/3 of the way there and I'm going to be sad when these are done because I've really enjoyed going back and watching the clashes in the Saturday Night's Main Events. And if you keep up with the streams and we get into the later episodes of Saturday Night's Main Event, they're going to get depressing because I really don't like those later. Like after the reboot in like 2006, I think they started up again. I'm not a huge fan of those episodes, so it'll be those will be more depressing. But yeah, I'm still enjoying doing the streams, and if you all want to join on and ask me questions and chat with me, I do them every Saturday or Sunday. There's no set time or date because of the way my schedule works, but they're typically Saturdays and Sundays, and you know, those that have been watching them, hope you all have been enjoying them. And yeah, we're going to be doing another one next weekend, so it should be a lot of fun. So yeah, and I've got various other videos coming out throughout the week. My next What Went Wrong, my next Top 10, both of which are SummerSlam related, and a special preview video where I will be going over SummerSlam, NXT TakeOver, and All In, all of which will be happening within the next couple of weeks. SummerSlam and TakeOver are actually happening next weekend, so a lot of stuff to talk about this week, and you're gonna get sick of seeing me after this week. I'm gonna bombard you guys with videos. But today's video, like I said, is going to be about news and notes, playing catch up with the various current events in professional wrestling. And let's start off with the very, very good news that All In will be streamed, will be viewable, will be available on pay-per-view and the FITE app. So we will be able to watch All In. That is awesome. I'm very happy to hear that. The pre-show, 0 Hour, will also air on WGN America. So it's very good that we're going to be getting to see this stuff. The show is very historic. It's the largest non-WWE event to take place since the death of WCW. What with the crowd and the independent promotion behind it, I expect this to be a really fun show, and for historical purposes, it's something that I want to be a part of, and I'm really glad that those of us that weren't able to get tickets or aren't in the Chicago area and not able to go to it, I'm really glad that we now have the option to be able to watch it, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I highly recommend that everybody else check it out as well, because I think it's going to be a really fun and exciting show. I will go more into detail about that when I preview the show in my video later this week, but if I wasn't excited for All In before, I am super excited for All In now. I am definitely all in, and I can't wait for this event. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I expect the atmosphere to be great. I expect the show to be exciting. I expect the wrestlers to put forth a really strong effort given the ramifications of this event and what it means to the business as a whole. So yeah, I'm really excited for All In, and good for them, good for Cody, good for the Bucks, and good for everybody else involved in this, that they were able to make this show available to wrestling fans everywhere. And it's going to be the biggest super kick party in the world. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that was some really good news. Some other really good news, somewhat related: Ring of Honor and New Japan, their show in MSG happening WrestleMania weekend, sold out. I did not expect this. I really did not expect this, because I figured it's like, okay, if they can get 2/3 full, that would probably be a victory. I was also a little concerned that they're going to be going up against NXT TakeOver that same night. That was something that kind of concerned me. Is like, oh, it's probably going to kill some of the interest with it, because they're basically going head to head with WWE, and the NXT brand is well liked by diehards within the wrestling fan base. So I figured that was going to be the fans were going to have to make a choice, and you're going to want to go to either New Japan and ROH, or you're going to want to go to NXT. And ROH and New Japan sold out. I think that's really great news. So not only did they get the Garden, they also sold out WrestleMania weekend. I think that's awesome and good for them. Again, good for everybody involved. And I think that show is going to be insane. I think it's going to be a really, really great show. And I can't wait to see it. And WrestleMania weekend already exciting, and I've got something to look forward to. Hopefully the card's really good, and hopefully the show turns out really well. We'll know more as we get closer to WrestleMania, obviously, but I think that's very good news. I was not able to get tickets. I didn't even know they had gone on sale until after I'd heard they'd sold out. I'm like, what? They sold out already? What the fuck? And my friends and I are talking about it. We're like, all right, we're probably gonna do StubHub and see if we can get some tickets that way, but. We shall see. It'll be very interesting. But yeah, I'm really happy for them, and I'm really proud that, for all the talk that WWE is the only game in town, they're the only brand in wrestling that matters. It's nice to see you look at situations like All In, and you look at situations like the G1 or the ROH New Japan Supercard happening in MSG, and you look at how successful those cards have already been just from the fact that they sold out. It tells me there's definitely a market for wrestling outside of the WWE, and there is an interest in wrestling outside of what the WWE is offering. And I think it's good for WWE that, somebody's kind of nipping at their heels a little bit, because it'll force them to be better, much like what WCW was to them in the mid-90s. It forced WWE to be better. Situations like this will force them to be better. At least I hope so. But yeah, it's a really exciting time to be a wrestling fan when you see things like this. I think it's very, very cool, very exciting. I can't wait to see what New Japan and ROH offer for their WrestleMania weekend show. I think it's going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be, again, it's a very exciting time to be a wrestling fan, and they're giving us a lot of stuff to look forward to. And good for Ring of Honor, they were always this little company that always gave independent fans what they wanted, most of the time, not all the time. And they were just the premier indie fed. That was always kind of the reputation. And in the last couple years or so, they have grown leaps and bounds. And what they've been able to do through their partnership with New Japan, and through hiring guys like Cody and the Bucks and letting them go off and be these entrepreneurs that are able to really extend the brand and make independent wrestling seem like the coolest thing in the world. They've made some really great strides in growing, and really proud of them, and it's really cool to see what they've been able to accomplish. And my hat's off to them. I think this is great. I think All In is great. I think the MSG card at WrestleMania weekend is great. Again, it's a very exciting time to be a wrestling fan. Honestly, as a wrestling fan, I haven't watched Raw or SmackDown in months. I'm the happiest I've been as a wrestling fan in years. It's oh my god, it's great. But I might watch SummerSlam, depending on. We'll find out more. I'll talk about it more when I do my preview. But yeah, there's a lot of options out there, and it's good to see people are exploring those options, and I think that's really good to see. So one other thing I wanted to comment on is the somewhat big news headline that came out this week, where Colt Cabana is going to be suing CM Punk. It's like, wow, didn't expect to see that, especially since these two just got out of legal troubles with the WWE. What's going on here? Why is Colt suing his former buddy CM Punk? What's going on? Apparently, according to Colt Cabana, CM Punk promised to pay Colt's legal fees from their recent situation with the WWE and the doctor and that whole thing that stemmed from the podcast. Apparently, according to Colt, Punk agreed to pay his legal fees, and now CM Punk is telling him to fuck off and doesn't want to pay it, and it just left Colt Cabana with all the big legal fees. And to me, it's like, okay, I don't think Colt has much of a case here unless he's able to prove that Punk signed a contract agreeing that he was going to do that. I don't think having some text messages and even Punk promising that he was going to do it and then reneging, I don't think Colt has any kind of legal claim to force Punk to pay his legal fees. But if this story is true, CM Punk's a dick. I mean, that is a dick move. I mean, wow, what an asshole. But yeah, I don't think Colt has much of a case here. Again, I'm no legal expert. I don't know. Unless Punk signed a contract agreeing that he was going to do that, I don't think Colt can hold him to anything. And it's unfortunate when a friend of yours screws you over like that. That's really unfortunate, but I don't know if there's anything the law side of things that he can do to really change that. But I was like, man, wow, Punk, really? You would say that you're going to pay the guys legal fees and then just pull out? Again, I haven't heard Punk's side of the story, and we haven't gotten too much detail on this, at least not from what I've seen. But assuming the story's true, I was like, wow, that's a dick move if there ever was one. I was talking to a friend of mine a couple days ago, and he swears that Punk is bipolar. And that explains a lot of his behavior, if that's the case. That there's something like in Punk's brain that kind of, he just flips a switch and turns into an asshole. I don't know. I mean, I've said before, big fan of Punk's work as a pro wrestler. I never want to meet the guy because he just strikes me as a guy that would be very unapproachable. I've talked to people that said they had very good experiences meeting Punk. That's great, but I wouldn't want to. I feel like I would be too nervous that I was going to screw up and say something that would set him off, and I just don't want to be put in that situation. So that's just me. But yeah, very interesting. It'll be interesting to see where that goes moving forward. And it's always sad to see a friendship break up because we always felt like Punk and Cabana were like really close friends. And ever since that podcast, man, it's just been soured more and more, getting into legal troubles with WWE. And now this whole situation is like, man, what a bummer. What a bummer indeed. But moving along from there, there's one last thing I wanted to comment on, specifically Dave Meltzer's recent comments about women's wrestling, specifically sparked by the Evolution pay-per-view that's coming up in October. And I believe these comments were stated while Meltzer was reviewing a recent edition of SmackDown where the women's matches on that show were not very good. And I can't vouch for that. I can't say they weren't very good. I didn't see them. But Meltzer basically made the point that the way things are today, there's like this expectation that you have to say that women's wrestling is good even when it's not. And that's basically the point he was trying to make and the point that he was going off of. And I've made it no secret that Dave Meltzer is not somebody that I see eye to eye with a lot. I don't like the way he critiques matches. I've made that point a lot. Not saying that I'm right and he's wrong. I'm just saying that he and I approach what we like about wrestling from two different ways. We're on two different wavelengths as far as what we like and enjoy out of wrestling. He's very, it feels like he has a formula in his head of what he likes to see, and he has like a mental checklist of what he likes to see. I like to immerse myself in what I'm seeing, and if I feel it, and if I can invest in it and just feel the emotion generated from the match, then that's good enough for me. So, and I also don't look at, I don't do star ratings or various other things. So Dave and I just aren't on the same plane. We're just coming at it from two different locations, I guess. But I have to say, I do kind of agree with him here, and it kind of plays off of all the things that stemmed from pop culture things like the Ghostbusters movie, that whole reboot from 2016, and things started by movies like Wonder Woman or various other things. There's almost like this societal expectation that if it stars women and pushes women to the forefront, then we have to like it, otherwise we're a bigot. We're bigots. And that's really all there is. I actually got called a sexist for asking questions about the She-Ra reboot. Something that's interesting to me because I grew up watching She-Ra. I was very young. She-Ra was actually a favorite cartoon of mine when I was 3 years old. So I have an interest in a She-Ra reboot, and I started asking questions, and that got me labeled a sexist by some people because I was trying to tear it down. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to tear it down. I don't know what's going on here, and I'm trying to find out more. But and you have this like situation going on, and it's been going on for a while now, where it's like you have people on this one side that are like, women, we got to prep them up, we got to push them, it's got to be progressive and all this. And if you don't like any of that, then you're just a woman-hating bigot, and fuck you. And then you have this other side that's like a little too extreme. Some of it might be sexism. Some of it I think is just they're so sick of the other side calling them sexist and bigots that they're just like, oh, fuck you. So anything starring women, they just shit on it no matter what. Not out of sexism, but out of we're sick and tired of being told we're bigots for not liking things with women in it, so we're just going to shit on anything that they like, which happens to be the stuff that stars women. And it's this really stupid shit show that just keeps going back and forth, and everybody looks shitty. my take on the whole thing, I kind of agree with what Meltzer's saying, where, again, there's that societal expectation that we have to like it. We have to like what the WWE is doing by having an all-women pay-per-view because it's the progressive way to think. Forget the fact that I haven't watched Raw or SmackDown in months, and the women prior to that were not doing anything that were generating any interest for me. I didn't like the Nia Jax Alexa Bliss feud. I really don't like the Bayley Sasha feud, which is still going. Or have they dropped that? I don't know anymore. Like, people have told me that it didn't get any better. There's just so much stuff going on that's not interesting me on the main roster, both men and women, various other things, that having an all-women pay-per-view doesn't really excite me. That's not exactly going to win me back and get me back to watching main roster WWE. I would much rather watch the women of other shows like Lucha Underground, Impact Wrestling, ROH, and give me more Kelly Klein, Tessa Blanchard, Mariposa, Ivelisse, Katrina, even though she's technically not a wrestler. I'll take them. We're fine. Cobra Moon, I'll take all of them. I don't need to watch main roster WWE show. NXT even, I like Shayna Baszler. I like what she's doing right now. I feel like I'm getting my women's wrestling fix from other sources that are entertaining me just fine. So I'm not overly interested in a main roster WWE show of any kind, whether it start all men or all women. It doesn't matter to me. And I'm okay with WWE doing it. It seems fair to me considering the women were not allowed to perform at the Saudi Arabia show. So this feels like a fair trade-off, I think. And I'm completely okay with them doing this show. However, I do feel like there's going to be that thing that Meltzer's talking about where this show's going to get rave reviews regardless of the actual quality of the show. And anybody that tries to step out of line and say it's not good is going to get labeled a sexist or a bigot. Because it happened with the Ghostbusters movie, where that movie got, what was it, like a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes that it did not deserve. I saw the movie. It's like that movie was flipping terrible. Not because it starred women, but because it wasn't funny, it wasn't creative, it looked terrible. I didn't like the way the film looked. It was just not a good movie. But people praised it because, hey, they pushed women. And it was almost like the battle lines were drawn. It's like, look, you either support women or you're a bigot. And to me, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And the WWE, I've criticized them for their women's revolution. For it feels like this shallow pat themselves on the back for pushing women like they're doing this great thing. And like, motherfuckers, you were the last ones to push them as serious athletes. TNA beat you to it like a decade beforehand. Ring of Honor, even though it took them a while to get a full-fledged women's division, always pushed their women as serious athletes. Sarah Del Rey, who's a trainer now for WWE. Where did she come from? Ring of Honor. Japan have all women. They have all female feds. It felt like WWE was late to the party, but because they're the biggest game in town, they're able to push it like they're like these progressive, innovative people for doing it, when they're really not. Just how I feel about it. Again, they were late to the party in that regard. So as we get closer and closer to Evolution, I feel like that thing that Meltzer's talking about, where people's going to say the show is good regardless, I'm of the mindset that if the women are going to be put in these positions, they're going to get main event spots, they're going to get pay-per-view spots. There's talk that Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte is going to main event WrestleMania next year. Okay, I'm all fine with that. You want to give them Hell in a Cell, give them Elimination Chamber, give them the Rumble, that's all fine, but I'm going to hold them to the same standard as the men, and they have to be able to deliver. The first female Rumble, I thought was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I liked the men's Rumble more because I felt like there was more of a story there, where the female Rumble was kind of a, oh, hey, look who came back fest type of match. But it was still enjoyable, and I liked it. The first women's Elimination Chamber, I liked it way more than the men's chamber that happened on the same show. A match that included AJ Styles, who I'm a huge fan of. Excuse me. But the first female Money in the Bank, I thought was kind of a misfire. The first female Hell in a Cell, I thought that was kind of a misfire. It was Sasha and Charlotte in that situation, I thought were hampered by various things, not just them. The finish being botched didn't help, but there was also the fact that they had to follow two other Hell in a Cell matches, which didn't help at all. I've talked about before how I hate having 3 Hell in a Cells on one show. I think it's stupid. And them being the third one only put them in a tougher position, but that's just how I feel. But again, that's just me. Like, I'm holding them to the same standard as the men. When I criticize them, I'm not doing it out of sexism or anything else. I'm just saying I enjoyed that or I didn't enjoy that. And again, it's the same standard I would apply to the men. And I think they should be held to the same standard as the men. There shouldn't be like this pressure on people to be forced into liking something or saying that they like something just because it stars women. I think that's asinine. And that's, in my mind, equal standards is not bigotry. And I hate getting political on this channel. I really don't like getting political. But if evolution happens and you don't like the show, you shouldn't have to feel bad for not liking the show. And that's basically my point. If it wasn't your cup of tea or it didn't work for you, or maybe it had some matches that didn't work, or maybe the main event was a bust, or whatever, that's completely fine. You don't have to feel like you have to like something just to make yourself seem like a good person, or to make yourself seem like, because that's the other side of that. A lot of the people that say they like all these things that star women or whatever, and they're insincere about it, it has like this fake quality to it where it's like, yeah, but you're just being insincere. You're just saying it just to make yourself look like a good person and to score brownie points with society. And that's like, that's not right. That's ridiculous to me. So, Evolution, I still don't even know if I'm going to watch the show. I guess we'll find out more. Maybe I'll get back into watching Raw and SmackDown at some point. NXT is going to feature into the show, and that might be something that interests me, where it's like, oh, the NXT girls will be on it. That'll make me happy. It's like, oh, Shayna Baszler will be on it. Cool. Toni Storm's going to be on it. Cool. That'll be neat. The Mae Young Classic Finals will be happening at the pay-per-view. That could be cool, depending on who's in it. I don't even know if I'm going to watch the Mae Young Classic yet. Literally, the only thing I know, I know a couple of the names that are in it. I don't know anything else about it, regardless, or aside from some of the names that are in it. I know they've started taping it, but I haven't read any spoilers. But yeah, I think if they want to do an all-women's pay-per-view, again, I think it's a nice idea. I think it's cool. Go ahead and do it. But you still have to put forth a good show. You can't just kind of rest on the idea that, oh, we're pushing women, so we're great. That's not going to fly. That's not going to work. You gotta put your best foot forward and put on a good show. And again, I'm not expecting like a Wrestle Kingdom style 5-star match, wall-to-wall, back-to-back matches. I'm not expecting anything like that. I'm not expecting anything like that out of All In, and I'll talk more about that when I preview All In. I just want a good show. I just want to be entertained and have fun. I go into every wrestling show wanting to have fun. That's my whole deal. So if you're able to entertain me and have fun, I'll give you a thumbs up. That's fine. Some matches might work, some might not work, but if I enjoyed myself overall, I'm going to be nice to you guys. So I don't think of myself as the strictest critic in the world. So, I'm not that hard to place, which kind of highlights just how bad Raw and SmackDown got, where it got to a point where it's like, I can't even watch it anymore. I'll sit and watch Lucha Underground, NXT, Ring of Honor, even Impact got me back. But it's like Raw and SmackDown, nah, I'm good. It's fine. But anyway, yeah, so basically my point here, if you want to support the women's revolution, that's completely fine. But don't call everybody a bigot if they don't enjoy women's wrestling to the extent that you do, because I don't think everybody that's critical of it is coming at it from the place of sexism. Some are. I'm sure there are sexists out there that just don't like women's wrestling. But again, it's like, even the sexist is like, man, you like what you like. I'm not going to strong arm you or anything like that. So, everyone likes what they like, and they have their reasons for liking what they like. So, it is what it is. And on the other side of the coin, you shouldn't have to feel bad if you don't like something that stars women, whether it be wrestling or a movie or TV show or anything else. I'm being perfectly honest here. I thought Jessica Jones Season 2 was a piece of shit. That's enough to get me labeled as a sexist, just to say that out loud. As I thought Season 2 of that show was absolute garbage. But saying that is enough to get me labeled a sexist and a bigot and various other things. Like, no, I just thought it was horribly written, stupid, wasted a lot of time, too long, and I didn't care about anything that was going on. I didn't care about any of the side characters. I didn't care about any of the developments in the main story. I just didn't care. David Tennant was the best thing about the show, and he was only in it for one episode this season. I mean, he was the best thing about season 1 too. I just think he's a really good performer. I like him as Scrooge McDuck too. Like, he's a good Scrooge McDuck. But anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough about this. So, yeah, because I've already seen some of the reactions to it where Dave Meltzer is getting labeled as a sexist for saying what he said, and I'm like, he's not. I don't feel like he's wrong here by pointing it out. Where there's that pressure that makes people feel like they have to like something that stars women, otherwise they get labeled a sexist or a bigot, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. Especially if you're in a position that he's in, and he's a critic. You can't be pressured into liking or disliking something if you're a critic. You got to take it, every opinion you have needs to be independent, and especially if that's something that he's made a livelihood and a reputation off of. He's got to be a credible source, and if people take his reviews seriously or take his opinions seriously, then they have to be his opinions. Unfiltered, unobstructed, just his natural, fully truthful opinions. And that's the way it should be. But yeah, so I came on here to actually defend Dave Meltzer. That's something I've never had to do before, but it's something I wanted to talk about and bring up. And I'm sure some people will probably hate me for saying what I said, but hey, it's just, I felt the need to say it. But yeah, I'm not putting down evolution. I'm not. The show hasn't even happened yet, and I don't even know how they're building it up because I'm not even watching Raw or SmackDown at this point. And it's not even the women that are the reason I stopped watching Raw or SmackDown. It was a bunch of other things, like the show being an overall mess and terrible and overly long and makes me want to die. I like everything else, though. Everything else is kind of entertaining me. But that is all I have for you in this video. Sorry I rambled. This one I kind of rambled on longer than I anticipated, but it's just something I felt I needed to say. So that concludes this video. Like I said, I've got a few more videos lined up for you this week. You guys are going to get sick of seeing me. But that is all I have for you now. So y'all enjoy what's left of your weekend, and I'll see you all later.